So it has not been a very fun 2 days if you are a Jaguars fan. It's no secret that the Jaguars on Sunday got completely curb stomped by the San Francisco 49ers. The Jaguars just got completely blown out. And look, the Jaguars offense, it just puts things in perspective, really how much they've been struggling this year. And, I think winning is a really good deodorant. And when you're on a 5-game winning streak, you don't really complain too much about like the offense, especially this early on in the season. We keep thinking, okay, it's going to get better. At some point, we're going to turn around. At some point, we're going to the flip is going to switch. And then we are going to be able to ride out and be a great team. And look, I've been one of those people that have been saying, look, in September and October, it's fine if the offense is struggling. It's just, let's get better in November and December. Right now, it's all about winning games. And, they have been. In September and October, the Jaguars were 6-2, a tremendous record. But now you look at the overall situation, and it's not ideal, really, what's going on right now. And I think the most concerning thing is that it appears our franchise quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, has regressed. And, when you look at what Trevor Lawrence was at the end of the 2022 season, that same quarterback isn't currently playing for the Jaguars. I don't know where he is. The Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence himself currently has 9 touchdowns and 10 turnovers. Trevor Lawrence right now has more turnovers than touchdowns. That is not good. And he's throwing for an average of 236 yards per game. You were hoping that would be somewhere at the very least 275 yards per game, but we were hoping, maybe 300 plus. And yeah, it hasn't been good. And quick shout out to Daniel Griffiths from SI.com. He put together a bunch of different numbers that really put things in perspective for us. He's over there on SI.com. So, the Jaguars, of course, have gone 2 games without touchdowns, including the most recent game where the Jaguars only scored 3 points. The Jaguars are 25th in the NFL on third down. They're 29th in the NFL on fourth down. And they're also 29th in the red zone. These are awful numbers. And, not only that, just like I said earlier, turnovers for the Jaguars offense has been really, really bad. Look, through 9 games, 11 turnovers have come in field goal range, and that's been real. It feels like the Jaguars, they move the ball pretty well in our own territory. And then we move up, we get the ball like within the 40-yard line, and then it starts to turn into the danger zone. We start to get into these situations where it's like, we're like, okay, well, at the very least, we're going to be able to get a field goal, and they have a nice drive, and it ends in some kind of awful turnover. And, all different players have been turning the ball over. We've had Trevor Lawrence with his fumbles, interceptions. We've had Christian Kirk fumble. We've had Evan Ingram fumble. We've had Tank Bigsby fumble. We've had really a bunch of different culprits of these turnovers, and it's just super bad because, we're having these sustained drives where maybe we burn off 5-6 minutes off the clock, and then we go in there and we end up with no points, and the defense is back out on the field. So we're just literally self-imposing turnovers on ourselves, which is just really bad. And, like I said, through 9 games, 11 turnovers in field goal range. But through the last 2 weeks, 7 times the Jaguars have turned the ball over in field goal range. So, yeah, not good. And, when you talk about red zone production for the Jaguars, that might actually be worse than the turnovers. The Jaguars in the red zone, Jaguars only 4 out of 9 of Trevor Lawrence's touchdowns have come in the red zone. And 2 of those touchdowns have been to Zay Jones. So missing Zay Jones is big. He is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just Zay Jones. Like, what is Zay Jones? He's not this top NFL receiver. Well, he's our red zone guy. And, quite frankly, when you look at the Jaguars from last year, we had Zay Jones, but the Jaguars also had Marvin Jones. And while Marvin Jones is an old dude, he's not a burner, that Marvin Jones was good at getting those back shoulder fades in the red zone for touchdowns. And the Jaguars really, there's nobody that's filled in for him or nobody that's filled in for Zay Jones. So they're essentially missing 2 of our red zone guys from 2022. So, yeah, that's not great. And we just have no true receiving weapon right now for the Jaguars in the red zone. So, like I said, the Jaguars are moving the ball pretty well between the 20s. But overall, like when it comes to the Jaguars' offensive struggles, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? We're going to get into that in a moment. But first, we got to give a shout out to this video sponsor, Gametime. Now, guys, last weekend I went to a UCF game, and I don't go to a lot of UCF games, so I don't really know the whole stadium layout very well. But the Gametime app made it super, super easy. They've got awesome last minute deals. They have all in prices. And the cool thing is you get the actual view from your seat. So you get to see exactly what you're going into. And they also have a best price guarantee. Gametime essentially takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Whatever event you guys have coming up, Gametime should be your go-to app. You can go to sports games, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, all different kinds of events coming near you can be found right there on the Gametime app. Gametime shows all-in prices, so you get to see exact total up front, and you can buy your tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Now, Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts, so you can buy a lot of flexibility when it comes to purchasing over there. With zone deals, you can pick your section, and Gametime picks the seats for an average of an 18% savings. And there's a Gametime guarantee where it means you'll always get the best price first. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Gametime is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code UCFJAG for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and redeem code UCFJAG for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, look, when it comes to fixing the Jaguars offense, it starts with coaching. I mean, coaching, they have to understand the personnel that's on the field and how you are going to maximize what you have personnel-wise. And, I think it starts, we need to figure out what the heck we're going to do with our wide receivers. Most specifically, Calvin Ridley. Look, Calvin Ridley is not having a great year, but I'm not going to sit here I don't think all of a sudden after preseason, Calvin Ridley all of a sudden isn't a good player. Look, they're just not doing a whole lot of stuff with him. They're sticking him. He's only playing on the outside. They're not motioning him at all. He's not playing any slot. They're just not. He's just pretty much sticking into a role, and they're not getting creative with him. And in an offense right now where you really, really need wide receiver weapons, I don't know why they're not trying to do more with Calvin Ridley. And like I said, just rotate them, just do something different and understand that, look, what is not working in our route concepts? We need to find different ways to do it, because right now, receiver wise, with Zay Jones out, all we pretty much have is Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk. Those are our two true, high price wide receivers right now. And we're not really using them much. I think in the red zone with Zay Jones out, I don't know why the Jaguars don't try to use Evan Ingram more. I mean, he's a big target. I've seen him catch fade routes. I don't understand why they don't look at him. They don't go to him. They don't design anything for him. It's confusing. It's confusing. I don't know why they don't try that more. And look, the offensive line had a really tough test this week. I mean, you're going against a defensive line that is just full of dogs, and they were desperate for a win. I only need to go through the list of names, but you guys know who's on a 49ers defensive line. It was tough, but the next couple of weeks we're not facing near the D lines that was. So now it's time to get gelled. Look, we'll figure out Walker Little at left guard. He struggled a little bit going against pretty good players, but again, I think that's his first ever full game at guard. So we got to give him some time. We can't just say, all right, Ezra Cleveland, you're in, because Walker Little didn't have a very good game. So that needs to get better. Anton Harrison needs to step it up. Just everybody, honestly, everybody. The offensive line was full of culprits last game, so everything just needs to gel a little bit better. And look, most importantly, we got to get Trevor Lawrence right. Look, it's just so tough because we know what Trevor Lawrence can be. We saw him in 2022. We saw him down the stretch and just some of the amazing throws that he was having, and just, being him, and not seeing him doing what he can do is just depressing. It's really sad. And, all of us expect him to take this big next step, and it just hasn't happened. Now, look, there's people out there that saying Trevor Lawrence is a bust. People out there saying we should bench him. Look, don't go that crazy. Come on. Don't be on that end. If you're on that end, I challenge you to go back and remember the Gabbard days or the Chad Henne days. But we can all admit, though, he's been disappointing, and we can all admit that he can get better. So right now, it's time for our franchise quarterback to just play better football. And look, that's a whole entire team thing. I think I don't know how good the coaching staff is doing when it comes to, putting him in great positions. It's just the offense needs to figure out how they get these receivers open. What kind of protections do we need for the offensive line, and how we get and what's going to make the quarterback play better. This is on Press Taylor. This is on Doug Peterson. This is a whole entire team thing right now. So you got two just really, really important games coming up. Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans, 2 division games. After this, we don't have a division game until week 18. So this has to be a moment where the Jaguars figure it out on offense, because it's fine in September, October if your offense isn't gelling or anything. But now we're starting to get into that stretch where, we have some tough games. We have some primetime games. We need to start clicking, because we can't go into the playoffs with our offense limping the way it is. It's just not going to work. So it is important, though, to put everything in perspective. The Jaguars right now are 6-3. We put ourselves in a really good position right now where, look, we're not 3-6 back against the wall, got to win every game seemingly like the Jaguars basically had to do in 2022. We're in a spot where, look, you can drop a game here or there. It's okay. But, you're going to have to figure out a way to, get this offense moving if your overall goal is the Super Bowl. Right now, when it comes to what you look like against the 49ers, and look, I remember listening to this on Jaguars Monday this week. They're talking about, like, do the Jaguars have any player that's like top 5 at their position? Maybe ETN right now. And I would say you can maybe throw Lukin in there. But when you compare it to the 49ers, how many players do they have that's top 5 at their position? I mean, it's all over the place with, like, Christian McCaffrey. They have Nick Bosa, Hargrave at the defensive tackle spot. They have Trent Williams. They have so many players all over the place that are elite premier players at their position. Do the Jaguars have that? Probably not. So what the Jaguars need is they need the whole team to gel and play complementary football. And, it's kind of like when you look at our defense, do we have a bunch of top 5 players on the defense? No, but they gel so well. Everybody plays their role good, and it helps it elevate the rest of the team. So yeah, we'll see with the Jaguars what we wind up doing. It'll be an interesting thing to monitor. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and go Jags.